the year 2006 and Google buys YouTube for $1.65 billion. Nintendo comes up with a Wii console, Italy wins the World Cup, Pluto's no longer a planet, and most importantly, High School Musical comes out on the Disney Channel. Now, why should I care about a Disney Channel movie, you may ask, since I sound so grown up and put together and not at all still watching teen musicals? You see, in 2006, I was also a little girl who lived in the far-off land forgotten by almost all touring artists, Latin America. Forgotten by most, but not by High School Musical. The High School Musical tour was the very first concert that I ever saw live, the very first DVD that I ever owned,
and the very first time that I saw my weird theatre kid ass represented on screen.
Now that little girl is 26 now and unable to let it go when in walks Mr. Disney Plus. What with but a remake of her favourite childhood movie musical.
Shut up and take my money.
Needless to say, and you've probably already figured this out, I was obsessed with this franchise. And I will neither confirm nor deny my participation in various off-Broadway productions of High School Musical that took place in my living room, with me playing all of the characters. I don't know what you're talking about and you have no proof. Welcome back, everyone. If you're new here, my name is Sophia Maffei and I'm a vocal coach, singer and actress. And today we're going to be talking about High School Musical, the series, the review. It's showtime. By now you guys see my conflict here, right? Remakes, let's be honest, tend not to be very good. There's something about the magic of the original content that doesn't always translate that well into a remake. And while we're here, let's all take a moment to mourn Fate the Winx saga, which was crushed under the unbeatable source material. Maybe I could do a video about that later. But let's get back to this one.
Squirrel!
So when the High School Musical remake was announced, I was shaking in my jazz shoes. And it took me a very long time to pluck up the courage and watch this show. I watched the first episode and I was going to share my reaction here with you guys like I always do, but the more I kept pondering about the show as the days went by, I realized I have lots of opinions. So here is my take on High School Musical, the series, from what I saw on the first episode. This is obviously not a season review, and much of what I say here may develop differently as the show goes along, and that is normal, but I personally find that if the pilot doesn't do it for me, I tend to not watch the rest of the show. So the pilot is actually crucial to the show doing well in the long run. In this review, I'm going to show you some clips of my reaction to episode 1, and let me know down in the comments if you guys would like to see my reaction to the rest of the episodes. I will finish watching season 1 and do a full season review before season 2 comes out, so don't you worry, plenty more content to come. These are of course my opinions.
That's my opinion!
They are in no way facts of life or a diss to the creators or the actors. I do have my thoughts though, which we're all allowed to share because this is the internet and we all have a voice, for better or worse. And if you happen to like those thoughts, please make sure that you hit the like button, that you subscribe to the channel and click on that bell icon so you'll always be notified of all future videos. With that being said, and as I mentioned before, I'll be showing some clips to illustrate my points, but please do support the original content as this review is not a market substitute for the show. Now on with the video. Part 1, the concept. Straight off the bat, I want to say that unlike many others, I don't have a problem with the title of this show. I think it's very meta. It's the show making fun of itself and being self-aware, which is something that I love to see. It's so refreshing, especially when I saw that High School Musical, the series, they're special. I mean, it's quirky, it's funny, it's controversial, and in that I think it does what it intends to do. It gets people to talk about it. I don't know if many non-Disney fans would have talked about this show as much if the title hadn't sparked that much controversy. I also have to say that I am elated that they didn't go the route of High School Musical 3 with the new younger characters. I remember vividly watching High School Musical 3 when it came out on theaters, and upon those scenes just going no. And I guess I feel bad for the actors playing the younger characters. I mean, it's not their fault. God, I hope their careers are okay. Anyway, I like that this is a separate world because it allows for a lot of comedy and hopefully some cameos from the cast in the future. I myself am praying for Ashley Tisdale, is a phrase that I say on a daily basis. I won't make a comment about the story as a whole so far because I obviously have the rest of the season to watch, so I'll leave that for my season review video. I really like that the show revolves around theatre kids. I mean, you know me, I empathize with that so much, and I think that's going to be the aspect of the show that I'm going to be the most interested in. How they navigate through being a young artist and the peer pressure, family pressure that can kick in. In the first episode called The Auditions, we see just that. The kids auditioning for a production of High School Musical with a fun fact that the school that they go to is the school where they actually shot the movie. And that the drama teacher was apparently a dancer in the movie. Miss Jen though, not the actress. I checked. Intertwined with the production of the show, we get the friendships, the family, and of course, the relationship drama. Thank God we actually get a teen cast, because that will give the show the possibility to go on for more seasons if it wants to, and then the characters are still gonna look the age that they need to.
How do you do, fellow kids?
But most importantly, we get an insanely talented cast led by Olivia Rodrigo and Joshua Bassett. And I have to disclaim this straight off the bat, I am way biased in my love for Olivia, her talent, and our shared Swiftie identity. On a strict vocal level, I actually think that the kids in this show may actually outshine the original High School Musical cast. Oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. I just think the actors in this show are more musicians who can act, and the original High School Musical cast were more actors who could sing. And that's not to say that any of them are bad at any of the two things, but as performers, we always have one of the areas that we're just more comfortable with. And as a professional vocal coach myself, I am here to simp over the amazing musical skills to be displayed in the show, no doubt, starting by Olivia's fabulous rendition of Start of Something New in episode 1. But we'll talk about that later. Keep watching if you want to see me make a fool of myself online and lose my cool over her talent. So as far as the concept, I like it, I think it works, and as a pitch for the show, I'm here for it. So now let's move on to part 2, the characters. Now, first things first, characters are always a combination of two factors, and if one of the two is not great, then the whole preparation can go sour very quickly. These being well-written characters and well-performed characters. On the part of the actors, I think they were brilliantly chosen, they deliver really, really well, and I'm super excited to see all their careers develop in the future. Now, as for the writing, this is where the show fell a little bit flat for me, at least in the first episode. And it pains me to say this, I just think that the actors weren't given the best material to work with. Most of the jokes and punchlines are rather cheesy, and the moments that really make it work for me are the actors' delivery of the line rather than the writing itself. I know being cheesy and corny is probably part of what they were going for, but I don't know, I just couldn't help but cringe a little bit here and there.
I'm dying, I'm deceased, yes.
We also need to talk about how the show handles inclusivity in its characters in all of its nuances, and at that, I am ecstatic to say that it does a great job. With one caveat on the first episode, and I hope that I'm proven wrong as the show goes along, and that is actress Dara Renee's character Courtney being the too old stereotype of the mandatory sassy black friend whose only job in the story is to support the main character. Much like the spicy Latina trope, which I myself have fallen victim to in the industry as a Latina actress myself, this trope really has no place in media anymore. There should be so much more to care about in her character than her just being sassy. That should not be her one characteristic trait. If you want to learn more about how this stereotype originated and how it still affects our communities today, I suggest that you go check out Danielle's video on the Hissy Fit channel, and also this analysis on black stereotypes in the media by The Take. I will leave the links for their videos in the description box. They explain it so much better than I ever hoped that I could, so please go check them out if you're interested. But that's not all. She is also an angry woke feminist. That is not at all a storyline written by 40-year-old men who are just trying to cash in into the Me Too movement. Avengers Endgame, anyone? And the problem is obviously not with the character being feminist or sassy or being understandably angry at the way that the patriarchal society works and still oppresses women everywhere. That is a conversation that we definitely need to keep having. The problem is that this feels, to me at least, like it's being played for comedy. It's a punchline. Maybe I'm completely misunderstanding this, and it could be the case, but I hope that the show proved me wrong in the end, and that we'll get to know Courtney as a human being and much more than just an angry black woman or Ninny's friend. And as of the first episode, we've gotten to know nothing about her personal life, her likes, her dislikes, even how her summer went. All of their scenes together so far have revolved around her being sassy for comedic purposes or asking questions about Nini's life. But as I said, I'll keep an open mind, and I really hope that the show does good by Courtney in the end. I also want to point to the casting of this show in terms of body positivity, diversity, and LGBTQ representation. Our main character is young actress Olivia Rodrigo, who is of Filipino descent. The ensemble cast is also diverse in every sense of the word, and although I wish that we didn't need to reward corporations for doing what should be just deemed as decent and human, I do want to talk about it in the hopes that more casting directors will follow suit. And as for body positivity, I'll quote Casey Stroh, who's the actress who played Martha in the original trilogy. "Everywhere I look, there is beauty in so many colors, shapes, and sizes. To say that I'm elated about it is an understatement." And I agree. LGBTQ representation also seems to be at the forefront of this show, which, being a Disney product, is a huge deal, considering how much they've avoided to talk about the subject for years. Kenny Ortega himself has been vocal about his desire to depict openly gay characters in High School Musical, but he had to resort to innuendos and letting the audience draw their own conclusions. I mean, am I the only one who saw the sexual tension in I Don't Dance on High School Musical 2? Real shame Disney wasn't ready for that story in 2007. So to open this show with a scene of Nini and her two mums just having a family conversation and the topic of same-sex parenting not even being an issue is just a testament to how much we've evolved as a society. We still have miles to go from here, but I do want to acknowledge the good work being done. I like the characters so far. Kind of. Obviously, Nini and Ricky are the ones that we're supposed to root for, so they get a little bit more backstory, but I do like what I saw from Gina in her interview. Carlos and Ashlyn seem quite interesting as well, and Courtney I've already talked about. I hope we get to know more about her soon. I don't want to talk about Big Red that much, mainly because I find it really hard to keep a straight face when I remember that his friends call him Big Red. Huh? No one finds this ridiculous? No one? How can they say that with a straight face? Anyway, so far I found his character to be a little bit cheesy and his lines are a little bit cringy, more suited for a kids show than a teen show in my opinion, but we'll see what happens in the rest of the season. EJ is a really nice twist from the typical depiction of jocks in shows and movies, and he seems to really like Nini and appreciate her. He's super talented, but I have a feeling that he's going to be demonized so that they can make space for Nini and Ricky. And I really don't want to see that. EJ doesn't need to become a horrible character in order for Nini and Ricky to work. I don't know why I have a feeling that that's what's gonna happen, but I hope I'm wrong. Now, Nini. Nini is my favorite so far. Nini is literally me as a theater kid, but with way more confidence, which I love to see. She stands her ground, she knows what she wants and she goes for it, but she's also, nervous and relatable. She can also have a bit of self-doubt. Not much else to say so far about Nini, but I am here for the Olivia Rodrigo fan train. And I'm very, very happy to have a new character to love. Now, I have to say this, and I hope I don't get cancelled for this opinion. Ricky bugs me. There, I said it. I don't know why, I just find him annoying, and I know what you're gonna say, it's just episode 1 and I should give him a bit more time, but I just wish that I could have gotten to care about him a little bit more from the beginning. In this episode alone, we learn quite a few troubling facts about this character. From the douchey way that he reacts to Nini telling him that she loves him, which she did through Instagram, which was, a little bit awkward, but they had been together for a year. A year? Like, what are you talking about, dude? How are you surprised by this? And in this scene, we see him pull a Ross, which is the last character from Friends that you ever want to emulate.
Ross, I don't think I've ever been this angry.
What about the time I said we were on a break?
Apart from David Schwimmer's fantastic performance and comedic timing, Ross sucks. He is the worst. You do not want to be like Ross. And then to top it all off, he just barges in the middle of Nini's audition with the sole purpose of getting the girl. Even after Nini told him that she didn't want anything to do with him, that she has a boyfriend, and that this audition meant a lot to her. But no. Ricky just has to step in during her song, probably freak her out, and then proceed to flash a blinding light on her face while him and EJ are having a bro-off. What? But no, that is not all either. Ricky is also highly unprepared for the audition and he ends up singing Nini's song to her face while EJ is watching. We're supposed to root for this guy? And I have to say it, Nini's face during this scene is giving me life. Yes, please give me some more eye rolling. So let's get this right. This kid who has never in his life taken part in a school play, arrives late, reads the lines that he's given with the grace of a rock, and then manages to pull off a convincing monologue because it's not actually a monologue because he's actually professing his love, then sings a song that is not what the director asked him to do, and then gets the lead. What?
I am super chill all the time.
He gets the lead over not just EJ, but all the other theatre kids who have been busting their butts for years in the theatre program. How is any of this fair? How has he shown any aptitudes for acting? I mean, sure he can sing, but this is a musical. You need to act too. What is happening here? This is so unfair.
There's people that are dying.
And I get why Nini was cast over Gina a little bit more. Nini's performance was mind-blowing and she's been in the theatre program for so long. She's paid her dues and she deserves this. Still not the most realistic thing, as Gina is clearly more experienced, and maybe if I had been the director, I would have been more comfortable giving the role to Gina because I would think that she wouldn't crack under the pressure. But I can let that one slide because Nini has earned her spot. But Ricky? No. That is some Hollywood level magic bull I am not buying. Also, why are EJ and Gina the understudies for the leads when they're also playing Chad and Taylor?
She thinks I'm a Chad?
From my experience at least, understudies tend to be ensemble members and not other lead characters in the show. I guess that's obviously here to create some tension like on High School Musical 3 and all the understudy drama. But wouldn't it have made more sense if Ricky had been cast as basketball player number 3 and Troy's understudy? And then he could have had those scenes with Nini, who could have been either Gabriella or Gabriella's understudy, and that storyline could have still happened. But then we wouldn't be repeating the god-awful sin from the original movie when Sharpay and Ryan didn't get the leads in the school musical, which they absolutely deserved because they were way more qualified. And that's not my opinion. That is fact. I mean, it is my opinion, but I stand by it. Sharpay was robbed.
We need to save our show from people who don't know the difference between a Tony Award and Tony Hawk.
Also, what on earth does Carlos mean with both sequels?
I've seen the original movie 37 times, and the first 15 minutes of both sequels.
Have you not seen the cult classic 2011 movie Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure? Shame. I'm getting too emotional and carried away by this, aren't I? Let's keep going. As for our beautiful array of secondary main characters, we still have much to see from them, but I like what I see so far. Apart from Big Red. No diss, but also diss. Gina in particular is the most interesting to me so far. I love the little backstory that we already got from her. I do think that she comes off a little too strong on Nini, but I understand, and I don't think that we should judge her character with adult standards because she's still a teen. Gina is a stressed out kid in need of some love and understanding, so I really like her and I hope to see way more from her. We barely got to see these characters on episode 1, so I hope that we'll get to see a bit more from them in the future. Great call not being gender specific in their casting of Sharpay though, a testament to the fact that no one can even come close to what Ashley Tisdale did for the role. The reinventing the role is perfection. Love it. Chef's kiss. Now, the drama teacher. Let's talk about her. She's played by Broadway actress Kate Reinders, who was born in 1980 and still somehow calls herself a millennial, with a meta look into camera from Ricky, which we love to see. That is obviously the show being in on the joke as well, but I think it would have made a little bit more sense to make her character just a tad younger to appeal to the actual people who grew up watching and loving the show and who will probably empathize with the teacher a lot. Don't get me wrong, I love Nini, but I'm probably going to empathize with a character that's closer to my age a little bit more. And let's be honest, when we're talking about the bulk of the High School Musical audience, those people were probably between 10 and 17 when the first movie came out, making them around 25 to 32 now, maybe even mid-30s. Wouldn't we have connected with this character a little bit more if she had been like a 30-something-year-old millennial, still trying to figure herself out and dealing with the aftermath of child acting? I don't know, I just would have related to that so much personally. I'm still super happy that we got Kate Reinders, so maybe this is me just being incredibly nitpicky. Wouldn't be the first time. Part 3, the format. Now let's talk about the format of this show, and this is where I saw the most problems. I am confused, to say the least. I think this is a case of a show wanting to be everything. Should we be a teen rom-com? Should we be a drama? Should we be a parody? Should we be The Office? Should we be Modern Family? Should we be Glee? Let's be all of the above. Like, we get these moments where the characters break the fourth wall and have an interview type scene, which I loved. Like, I honestly found that so refreshing. It's just different, but then we get flashbacks like this.
Do my feet stink? Because I feel like my feet stink.
Oh. Sort of.
How does this make sense in the context of the logic of this show? Just because something is a parody doesn't mean that logic just gets thrown out the window. Everything has to have some sense of purpose. Even the wackiest shows and movies have a certain code that they go by, a certain set of rules the audience gets and plays by. I saw someone in Amanda the Jedi's comment section who said that it would have been really fun if they had kind of played these flashbacks like awkward reenactments. And I don't know if that would have been a good idea, but placing this flashback scene right after Nini and Ricky's interview scenes kind of makes you believe that that flashback is part of the mockumentary, and that makes no sense. And look, I get it. It may sound good on paper to take resources that worked for other shows and try to see if they work for your show. It's been done before, and this is obviously not to say that other people don't like it. I know that many of you guys watching this video are probably very unhappy with the fact that I didn't really like this format.
Dishonor on you! Dishonor on your cow!
I didn't hate it, I just don't get it. And honestly, it's driving me kind of crazy because I really wanted to love this show. I wanted to connect with my nostalgia. I wanted to listen to some fabulous Olivia Rodrigo singing and overall just have a nice time watching some wholesome Disney content. And instead, I have a headache. And it's not about the show being a drama and a comedy at the same time. Some of the best shows in the world have managed to toe that line wonderfully. Think Friends, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Gilmore Girls. Even shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Community have managed to talk about super serious issues while remaining some of the funniest shows I have ever seen. More recently, a show that I think manages to play with this concept really well is Julie and the Phantoms. No surprise here. I've been raving about this show for weeks on my channel, but there's a reason. Some of you guys may be here from my Julie reactions, but if you haven't seen them yet, I'll I'll leave the playlist for that up here in a card for you. My main takeaway when I look at Julie and the Phantoms next to High School Musical, the series, is that the former knows what it is. It's a show about music and family and friendship. It's about being true to yourself, overcoming life's hurdles, and connecting with your art. It's also really funny, but never at the expense of the story. Some parts in High School Musical, the series, kind of give me the impression that Disney just wanted to make a bit more money off of the High School Musical machine.
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money.
And one of the reasons why I want to keep watching the show is because they've managed to land one of Hollywood's biggest newcomers, and I'll be honest, so far she really makes the show. Oh, Olivia, you are so talented. And now it's easy to see. Oh, so good. That was magical. I know what you're thinking. Is this a review or a stand video for Olivia Rodrigo? It's both, okay? It's both. But the thing here is that it's not really clear whether the show wants you to take it seriously or not. And the line between seriousness and meta comments and breaking the fourth wall is so thin. It's just a tad distracting. And while we're on the subject of writing, it gets weird. We get awkward lines written by 40-year-old men who think that they know how teens talk because they downloaded TikTok the one time. Your teen characters do not need to say hashtag every 2 seconds because teens are interested in more than just social media. I know that social media is a huge part of their lives, but it's not everything that they are. If this had been intended as some sort of parody of these stereotypical teen tropes, maybe that would have worked better. I don't know, but it's sort of everything and not much at the same time. And look, I'm not a script writer. They are. What do I know? But one of the characters says this.
Troy would have arrived on time.
Now, don't tell me that's a meta joke. I would take that. I would happily take that if that line had been said by someone who didn't claim to know the movie so well. This kid claims to be a High School Musical historian. I mean, maybe that is the joke, the fact that he claims to know so much about the movies, but he doesn't actually know. I don't know. But I mean, wouldn't the line have made a bit more sense and would have been really funny as well if it had been said by someone who didn't know the movies that well? And also, what even is a High School Musical historian? Is that an actual job? Can you please give it to me? I would be perfect for it. 2000s Disney Channel is to my generation our initiation in pop culture. The DVD of High School Musical 1 with choreography taught by Charles Kaplow was honestly my obsession, and I spent way too many hours trying to learn the choreography in my computer room because that is what we had in 2007. They were dark times. Part 4, the impact. As far as online reviews, the scale seems to tilt in favor of the show. It's got a 75% approval rate on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.5 out of 10 score on IMDb, which is honestly so impressive. It has received some negative feedback on YouTube and Twitter from what I've seen, but mostly people seem to really like the show, and I can see why. For those of us young millennials, the show will represent a strong sense of nostalgia, which already attracts a great deal of people, but I think it's the clever way in which the camera work is executed and some of the adult jokes that really make it ring home. As I said, I do have some issues with the format of the show, but I think it's something that I'm probably going to get used to as the season progresses. The most important thing to me is that I connected with some of the characters and that the story seems to be going somewhere. We don't know where yet, but it seems to be going into theatre culture, so I'm here for it. Will I be obsessing over this show? That's yet to be determined. I'm gonna have an open mind and give this show a try. I think all the hate that this show originally got on Twitter is completely uncalled for. It mainly got criticized for its name and probably by a bunch of people who never even watched the first episode. There is a disturbing demonization in our culture of all things that could remotely be classified as girly. If something seems girly, it's automatically labeled as ridiculous and stupid. There are very few things that this society likes more than to destroy girly topics, and isn't it funny that we never see this level of shame being brought upon traditionally boyish media? Like, we're expected to believe that The Fast and the Furious is a cinematic masterpiece, but Clueless is just a silly chick flick. They're both classics. They're both important in pop culture, and none of them are The Godfather. My final thoughts. High School Musical, the series is a show. As of now, a fine show. As of what I hope to see in the future, hopefully a good show. It's carried mainly by the talent of its cast and by the clever directing and camera work. I do think that the format needs a lot of work, but that may just be me. We can all have our opinions. But most importantly, what did you guys think of the show? Do you agree or disagree with me? Let me know nicely in the comments below. And tell me what your favorite character from the show is. My favorite so far is Nini. And since you're down there in the comment section, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to my channel, and click on that bell icon so you'll be notified of all my future videos. I hope you all enjoyed this new format from me, and I'll be making a similar video for Julie and the Phantoms, and obviously a full season review for High School Musical, the series, once I'm done with that as well. With not much else to say, I'll stop rambling and leave you with some more reactions in the link that's right there on your screen, and I'll see you over there. Above all, I hope everyone has a great week, and I'll see you next time. Happy singing!